please welcome to the stage, Nigel Farage.
Good morning, Brexit Party. It's extraordinary to think that back in March of this year, all seemed lost from a Brexit perspective. We had a Labour and Conservative Party, both of whom were happy not to take us out of the European Union. We had many of the 500 MPs who'd voted for Article 50, who'd reneged on their promise. And the talk was that not only were we not leaving the European Union, but we were to face a second referendum. And I felt that something absolutely fundamental had broken. Trust in politics, trust in our entire political system, and that is why I founded the Brexit Party, to restore that faith. And what was remarkable in that 6-week campaign, through some process of alchemy, we managed to turn all of that anger that was out there in this country into optimism and hope. We made people begin to realise that actually Brexit was going to happen because the British people have made up their minds and we will not be changing it. And I think we've got one or two achievements we can be rather proud of. After all, it was our rise and success that got rid of the worst and most duplicitous Prime Minister in British history. I think we pretty much guaranteed that her successor would be a leading Brexiteer. Indeed, if we hadn't fought those elections, I suspect Mrs. May would still be there. But more important than that, what we've done already is we have completely reset the political agenda in this country, so much so that a clean break Brexit on the 31st of October is now by far the most popular option in this country. But now we face an even bigger challenge. My guess is there is a better than 50% chance that we'll face a general election in the autumn. But whether we do or not, it is a pretty extraordinary achievement for a party of 19 weeks standing that we have over 500 of you in this room today who have been through vetting and will be candidates for us, prospective parliamentary candidates for us, at the next general election, and that there are 635 of you on our approved list. It is an extraordinary achievement. Our team have done well. We've spent the summer preparing for this moment, and we are ready. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you sure you're ready? And boy, we need to be, because I have a feeling that just a few weeks into his premiership, Boris is going off the rails. Oh, I know, it all started brilliantly, didn't it? It all started brilliantly. In fact, as Richard has said already, he pretty much aped every single word and phrase that we used in that campaign. I heard Nicky Morgan this morning talking about telephone connectivity. And I've no doubt there'll be things that we say today that you'll hear within 48 hours. But for all the headlines, and by the way, I'm pleased that Boris Johnson has brought some energy to that job. I'm pleased that Boris Johnson has brought some optimism to that job. I'm pleased that Boris Johnson is saying we will leave on the 31st of October, do or die. The trouble is, we've heard it all before. Because Mrs. May impressed me, I have to say, at her Lancaster House speech. She then went on to tell us 108 times that we would be leaving on the 29th of March. And I have a little bit of a difficulty with Boris, and it's this. When the Chequers Agreement led to the withdrawal agreement, or should we call it its proper name, the new European Treaty, because that is what it is. That is what it is. And Boris Johnson, in his Telegraph column, wrote over and over how we would become a slave state, a vassal state. He said it was the most disastrous deal and the worst thing that could ever happen to our country. Yes, it's true, he talked about the backstop, but he didn't just talk about that. He talked about the deal in its entirety and the fact that once we'd signed it, under the political declaration, there was nothing the European Union ever had to give us back. No guarantees about our future relationship is what Boris said, and yet, in his letter to Donald Tusk last Monday, Boris says that achieving a deal is our highest priority. He says a withdrawal agreement in that letter without the backstop would be satisfactory. Well, I suppose to him it would, because despite all the language condemning the withdrawal agreement, despite the fact that twice he voted against it, you'll never guess what happened the third time it came back to Parliament. He voted for it. And that raises with me a very big question. Can you trust Boris Johnson on this issue? Can you trust the Conservative Party on this issue? You see, even without the backstop, this is the worst deal in history. Not only will it cost us £39 billion, but it would lead us into a transition period that has the option of being extended. So the transition period, if this deal were to pass, would go on until 2022. Despite all the fine words, it would leave us under the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice for a minimum period of 8 years. And when I campaigned for 25 years in the run-up to the 23rd of June 2016, saying we want our country back, I didn't do it so that foreign judges could overrule laws made in this country. It's unacceptable. And I thought from the very beginning that the acid test of Brexit was, would we take back what is rightfully ours? Would we take back our territorial waters, the management of the fish stock and conservation within them, and hand back to the British fishing industry the chance for they and our coastal communities to survive? And this withdrawal agreement does not take back our territorial waters, and for that it is unacceptable. And of course, this withdrawal agreement binds us in the future to EU state aid rules. So we would not be able, as we're not now, to make strategic decisions about industry in this country. And I can think of no better example of this than the tragedy that is befalling British Steel, mainly because of uncontrolled exports coming in from China, selling steel way below their cost of production, and the impotence of the British government to stand up and defend what is, after all, a strategic industry. Under this withdrawal agreement, we would not be able to stand up for British Steel, and that makes it unacceptable. And this withdrawal agreement and the attached political declaration make a pledge to build on the customs partnership that already exists. I cannot for the life of me see, if we were to pass this agreement, I cannot for the life of me see that we would ever truly be able to leave the customs union. And that makes it perhaps the most unacceptable part of this whole withdrawal agreement, even without the backstop. And as Boris said, the first two times when he voted against it, it does not commit the European Union to having to give us anything in return in the future. And yet, this is now his highest priority. And you may have noticed there's been a change of language. Angela Merkel saying find an alternative. Donald Tusk saying find an alternative. Even Mr. Macron being pleasant towards the British for a few seconds at least. And I think Boris thinks that if he can get the backstop amended, he can put it to Parliament, and he thinks that the ERG and many others will fall into line for the sake of the party. Well, Boris, you talked about do or die, about leaving the European Union on the 31st of October. And I would say to you, deliver or politically die, because I tell you this, any attempt, if he carries on with this course, any attempt to put this withdrawal agreement back, and if he thinks he can then put that to a general election, either shortly before or after the 31st of October, I want to make this pledge from the Brexit Party. The withdrawal agreement is not Brexit. The withdrawal agreement is a betrayal of what 17.4 million people voted for, and if you go with the withdrawal agreement, if, Mr. Johnson, you insist on the withdrawal agreement, we will fight you in every single seat up and down the length and breadth of the United Kingdom. Are you ready? I think you are. But of course, there's another possibility, because Boris Johnson always likes to prepare two different texts, as we well know. There is the possibility that he won't get what he wants from Brussels, the possibility that the ERG will hold firm and that the numbers in Parliament won't be sufficient to get this dreaded deal through. Then, well, he has another choice. He could proceed to what they call no deal. They called it no deal to frighten us. Indeed, at 2 o'clock this afternoon, just up the street, Jeremy Corbyn is holding a conference. Oh, they'll all be there. The Liberal Democrats will be there. The Labour Party will be there. The Scottish Nationalists will be there. The Green Party will be there. Plaid Cymru will be there. And the leader of the dynamic Change UK Party, Anna Soubry, will be there. So they want to stop No Deal. They want to bring a motion of confidence on the Prime Minister. I suspect that they are going to fail. And they are very out of touch with public opinion. Frankly, given where we are, No Deal is the best deal. It's the only acceptable deal. But let's call it what it really is. It is a clean break Brexit that would make this country an independent, sovereign, democratic nation, and that is what we in the Brexit Party want. Thank you. Thank you. So let me be clear. If Boris Johnson was to summon up the courage to lead this country towards a clean break Brexit on the 31st of October, and if the only means of achieving that was calling a general election, which I frankly suspect that it would be, in those circumstances, if Boris Johnson is prepared to do the right thing to win our independence, then we are prepared to do the right thing, and we would put country before party, and we would do it every time. We do it every time. No, we would be prepared in those circumstances to help him, to work with him. Perhaps, I don't know, in the form of a non-aggression pact at the election. You see, the truth is, even if Boris went down that route, the Conservative Party on their own have lost so much trust in this country that the only way they can do it, the only way they could win a workable majority to get this country free, is with our help and support. We will not get a genuine Brexit without the Brexit Party being involved, and we are ready to play our part in the destiny of this country. In fact, the truth of it is, the Remain side may have lots of political parties, but for the Leave side, a Johnson government committed to doing the right thing and the Brexit Party working in tandem would be unstoppable, would deliver a big parliamentary majority, and would get this country free. But I tell you what, Her Majesty's opposition is not now a party we could ever consider working with in any way at all. The Labour Party have become a Remain second referendum party with a few noble exceptions on their backbenches. The Labour Party have now wholesale betrayed 5 million Labour voting Brexiteers, and I say to all those Labour voters out there, the Brexit Party is now the party for you. You can look at areas of the United Kingdom like South Wales, the Midlands. I better cast it a bit broader. The whole of the north of England. You can look at areas like that and you can see in constituency after constituency, places in which people voted leave who are now represented by Remain members of Parliament. And these clearly are going to be our main target seats in any general election that comes this year or in the years to come. The Labour Party today is more about Islington than is Loin. I thought the Welsh were good at making noise. Thank you. It is more a party of Hampstead than Huddersfield. And it is indeed a party that seems to represent an upper middle class globalist type based in London and to have lost all touch with its patriotic working roots. We understand the concerns of those people. We will be their champions. And talking of people, the Brexit Party's motivation is to deliver on that historic referendum result back in 2016. We want an independent, proud, united kingdom. And we've got people assembled here today from every walk of life, from nurses to rear admirals, from doctors to decorated soldiers, from taxi drivers to entrepreneurs, some of you formerly in the Labour Party, some of you formerly in the Conservative Party, many of you never part of any political party before. But what has motivated you to get involved in politics is that you have lost trust in our career political class and believe that it's time for ordinary, decent people to make a stand for democracy, to make sure we take back control of our country. And I think when news gets out from this hall today of who you are and the fact there's 635 of you on the approved candidates list, I rather hope that it begins to concentrate some minds half a mile across the road in Westminster. We believe in Britain, don't we? Yes. We believe in democracy. Yes. We believe that unless the referendum result is delivered, there will be irretrievable harm done to trust and democracy in this country. And we're going to fight, aren't we? Yes. Without the Brexit Party, there will be no meaningful Brexit. And whilst there are many other things we'll talk about in a general election campaign, be it political reform, the failure of our education system towards so many of our young people, the urgent need for large-scale modernisation and infrastructure around this country. Whilst all of those things are important, Brexit is the defining political issue of our age. And whatever comes, whenever it comes, the simple message that comes out from this hall today: you've got it, you're ahead of me. Can you all hold up your placards, please? Our simple message is this: we are ready! Thank you very much indeed, everybody.
Brilliant.
The fans were a bit. Do you want a glass?